أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا ضربتم في سبيل الله فتبينوا. O you who have believed, when you go forth to fight in the cause of Allah, then investigate. ولا تقولوا لمن ألقى إليكم السلام لست مؤمنا. And do not say to one who gives you a greeting of peace that you are not a believer. In the previous ayat, the command to fight was explicitly given to the believers. It was clearly given that you have to go and fight who? Those people who fight against you, your enemy. And along with that, the etiquette of fighting was also detailed. What is the etiquette? What's the correct method? What's the correct way of fighting? That first of all, it should only be fi sabilillah. It should not be to make money. It should not be to increase your lands, to increase your money, to increase the number of your slaves. No. The purpose of fighting is different for a believer. And what is it? Fi sabilillah. It is to defend, it is to exalt the deen of Allah, to protect the deen of Allah. And the niyyah, the intention should be to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only and not to show one's own military might, military power. No, it should be sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We also learned of the etiquettes or methods of fighting that were explained, that a person, who should he fear? Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not the people. Because we learned in one of the ayat that as soon as qital was prescribed, then a group of them, they started fearing people just as they should fear Allah or even more fear. So what do we learn from that? That when a person is doing something as scary as this, at that time, who should he fear? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not others, not other people. And this will help him focus on the reward. We also learned of the etiquettes or the methods of fighting is that even if the person is the only one, still he should stand up to the truth. The Prophet ﷺ was addressed that فَقَاتِلْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Then you fight in the way of Allah, even if you have to do so alone, because you're responsible only for yourself. And similarly, حَرِّضُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, encourage the believers. Then we were also told about which people were allowed to fight and which people were not allowed to fight. Now, over here, another very important etiquette is being taught. That when you go for battle, do not just attack anybody who comes in your way, assuming that they are your enemy. Don't attack anyone who comes in your way, just assuming that they're your enemy, but rather investigate. And if you know for sure that they are the enemy, then fight them. And if you're doubtful, you're not sure whether or not they're your enemy, then what's the need of fighting them? You don't need to, you don't have to. And we learned that in the outskirts of Medina, there were some tribes who were the enemies of Muslims. So yes, there were the people of Mecca, amongst whom were the mushrikeen, who were the enemies to Muslims. But at the same time, there were also some tribes in the outskirts of Medina who were living in the desert, who were enemies to the Muslims. But amongst these tribes, there were some individuals who had become Muslim. But due to some reason or the other, they could not do hijrah to Medina. They could not leave their people and live with the Muslims in Medina. And we see that there were some incidents in which the Muslims, by mistake, killed those Muslims, unknowingly, being unsure about their iman. And when those people, when those Muslims, when they said salam, or when they said a kalima that would manifest their belief, some Muslims, they said that no, he's just saying it to protect his wealth from us, to protect himself from us. No, he's not actually a believer, he's only pretending. So they would go and fight these people as well. They would go and kill them. And we see that murder, it was something rampant amongst the Arabs. On the slightest excuse, on the slightest reason, they would kill another person. So it was a habit of those people. This is why we see that the Muslims are being taught little things, that don't just kill anybody, don't just attack anybody until and unless you know that they are your enemy. Especially up until now, the Muslims were not allowed to fight. Remember that? And now they were given the permission to fight. So somebody who's been holding on since so long, all of a sudden when they're given the permission, they could do that which is inappropriate. So this is why little things are being taught over here. Fine details are being taught over here. And we might wonder that, isn't this common sense? Isn't this understood? It is understood, it is common sense for you, but not necessarily for them. So, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, O you who have believed, and the address is with Ya ayyuha, which is nida, which shows the importance of the command which is being given. And alladina amanu are being mentioned, which shows that iman demands this. This is a requirement of iman. That إِذَا ضَرَبْتُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, when you go forth in the way of Allah. ضَرَبْتُمْ literally means to strike. But ضَرَبَ فِي الْأَرْضِ means to travel. And it could be traveling for any purpose. But in particular, ضَرَبَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ means to travel for jihad. Alright? ضَرْب alone means to strike. ضَرَبَ فِي الْأَرْضِ is to travel for some other purpose. You're going to visit a family. You're traveling for business purposes. But ضَرْب فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ in particular is travel for the purpose of jihad, for the purpose of battle. So إِذَا ضَرَبْتُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ فَتَبَيَّنُوا, then you clarify, you verify, you ascertain. The word tabayyanu is from the root letters bayanun, from the word bayan, which is to be evident. And tabayyun is to research, to investigate, and to become clear about something. To become clear, to gain clarity about something. How? By researching, by investigating. So فَتَبَيَّنُوا, then you should clarify, you should verify, you should make sure, you should ascertain about what? About the Islam of the person whom you are confronting, whom you are about to attack. وَلَا تَقُولُوا, and do not say, لِمَنْ, for who, أَلْقَى إِلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامَ, the one who cast, and alqa over here means he offered, the one who offers ilaykum to you as-salama, the salam. What does it mean by this? Alqa ilaykum as-salama. This has been understood in two ways. First of all, the one who offers tahiyyatu salam to you, meaning the one who offers the peace greeting to you, meaning he says assalamu alaykum to you. Secondly, as-salam has been read as as-salam. And what does as-salam mean? Submission. Submission. That the one who offers submission to you, meaning who declares the profession of faith before you. The person who declares the profession of iman before you. How does a person profess that he is a believer? By saying the kalima shahada, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu wa rasulullah. So, liman alqa ilaykum as-salama, what does it mean? First of all, he offers a salam to you, which is a sign that the person is a believer. And secondly, a person offers submission, that he says la ilaha illallah, or immediately he says I'm a Muslim. Okay, I become a Muslim. Even if at that time a person offers submission to you, he says the shahada, you are not allowed to say lasta mu'mina, you are not a mu'min. Lasta, laysa, what does it mean? You are not mu'min, a believer. So you don't have the right to say that you're not a believer and you're only saying this because of the fear of your life or your property. Don't do this. تَبْتَغُونَ, you seek, عَرَضَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا, the goods of this worldly life. Meaning, why would you kill someone even though he says salam to you? Even though he's saying the kalima shahada at that time. Why would you kill them? تَبْتَغُونَ, seeking, عَرَضَ. What does عَرَض mean? عَرَض. عَرَض means everything which is unstable. Literally, It applies to everything that is unstable, everything that is transitory, that is temporary. It is not permanent. It does not have any permanence, it does not have any stability. And if you look at it, every single thing of this dunya is like that. It's not permanent in its age, nor in its qualities. It is transitory. It is temporary. And slowly and gradually what happens? It decays. There is wear and tear. So, arad refers to the goods or the advantages of this worldly life. So, why would you kill them? Just seeking worldly benefits? Just seeking worldly benefits? These worldly benefits are very few. فَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ, so with Allah, are مَغَانِمُ كَثِيرَةٌ, are many and plenty booties. I mean, why would you kill someone unjustly and seek only a little bit of benefit? If you go through the halal way, then remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has many, many booties in store for you. The word maghanim is a plural of maghnam. Maghnam. And maghnam is from the root letters ghain, noon, mim. And maghnam is used for booty. War booty. Spoils of war. And the word ghanam literally is used for goats. Ghanam literally means goats. The animal. And before, especially at that time, mainly people would own, especially the desert dwellers, they wouldn't own land. Similarly, they wouldn't own houses. They didn't have any real estate. So their property was what? The animals that they possessed. The animals that they possessed. This is why the war booty is derived from the word ghanam. Ghanam is goats. Because if you defeated someone, then you would get their goats. You would get their animals. But remember that maghnam does not just refer to goats, but it refers to any kind of war booty. So فَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ مَغَانِمُ كَثِيرًا. Allah has plenty. He has a lot of abundant maghanim. Meaning, maghanim stored for you in this dunya, as well as reward for you in the akhirah. So maghanim doesn't just refer to war booty in the dunya, but it refers to benefits in the akhirah, reward in the akhirah. So why would you kill someone who claims to be a believer, who shows iman, just to get a little bit of his wealth? We learned that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said that a man was tending his sheep. He was tending his sheep, and the Muslims caught up with him. He said, Assalamu alaikum. However, they killed him and took his sheep. Why? Thinking that he was a disbeliever and he was saying it only to defend himself. Now you might say, even if he's a disbeliever, what right do you have to kill them? You might think like that. Why? Because the Muslims were at war with them. And when you are at war with the people, then this is permissible. That if you see anyone belonging to them, then you have the right to capture them or whatever. Obviously within the correct means. This was something that was common at that time. So they thought that he's just saying salam to be safe from us. But still they killed him. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah, وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ أَلْقَى إِلَيْكُمُ السَّلَامَ لَسْتَ مُؤْمِنًا تَبْتَغُونَ عَرَضَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Ibn Abbas who commented that the goods of this world were those sheep. The goods of this world were those sheep. And if you think of it, the sheep, eventually they will die. Eventually they will come to an end. But the person who has been killed, the sin is still upon you. تَبْتَغُونَ عَرَضَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Remember that فَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ مَغَانِمُ كَثِيرًا. That Allah has a lot of maghanim. Why would you try to obtain something through haram? كَذَلِكَ كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلِ. Likewise you were before. Like how? How were you before? This has been understood in several ways. That first of all, you were also unbelievers before. You were also mushrikeen before. فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ. Then Allah bestowed a huge favor upon you. How? That He guided you, that He gave you iman. Secondly, it has been said that كَذَلِكَ كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلِ. What this means is that before you were also like these Muslims. hiding your iman. Hiding your iman. Just remember the days of Makkah. Just remember the days of Makkah. That how you used to conceal your iman. Hide your iman. We learn, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاذْكُرُوا إِذْ أَنْتُمْ قَلِيلٌ مُسْتَضْعَفُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And remember when you were very few and you were considered weak in the land. Very few. And because of the weakness, you would hide your iman. كَذَلِكَ كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلُ فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ. Then Allah bestowed a huge favor upon you. What is His huge favor? That He gave you the tawfiq to have iman. And He didn't just give you the tawfiq to have iman in your heart, but also to practice it. To make it known. Because so far what was happening? These people who were living in the outskirts of Medina, they were Muslims, but they had not declared their iman. They had not showed their iman. Their iman was still hiding. Why? Because if they showed their iman, then what would happen? They would be finished. So because of some reason or the other, they had not showed their iman to their people, and obviously it was also hidden from the Muslims. So the Muslims are being reminded that don't think that they're being bad by not declaring their faith. Remember that you were also in the same position just a little while ago. You were also hiding your iman. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed a huge favor upon you by giving you the tawfiq to have iman, to declare iman, by practicing your faith, and also by giving you the tawfiq to do hijrah. By giving you the tawfiq to migrate. So if these people haven't migrated, don't look down upon them. Don't look down upon them. Because sometimes what happens, if we have done something really good, if we're at a higher level and somebody else is not at that level, we begin to look down upon them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, remember, you were also at that level just a little while ago. كَذَلِكَ كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلُ فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ. And Allah bestowed a huge favor upon you. It's not your achievement. Allah gave you tawfiq. It's Allah's rahmah, it's Allah's mercy. It's His huge favor. فَتَبَيَّنُوا. So make sure that you verify. Again, tabayyanu has been said, why? For emphasis. That you must ascertain the iman of the other person before rushing into kill him or harm him in some way. Why? Because killing a believer is something that is very serious. إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرًا. Allah is fully aware of everything that you do. And remember the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Khabir. What does it show? That He is aware not just of your zahir, but also of your batin. Your apparent as well as your hidden matters. What you show and what you hide. Allah knows. Allah is fully aware. So what do we learn from this ayah? First of all, we learn about the obligation of investigating and ascertaining the reality of something, the status of something, before taking any steps for it or against it. Many times, when something happens, we assume. We become very judgmental. And before verifying, we pass judgments. We form opinions. And we sometimes also take steps. We also take some steps against someone. And what happens? We harm the other people. And later on we realize that the reality was actually something else. Has it ever happened with you? Never? How is it possible? Has it ever happened with you? For example, you go to do your laundry and you find out that there's still laundry sitting inside the machine. And you're like, they never put their laundry themselves in the dryer. It's possible that they never heard it, and it's possible that you put it yourself and you forgot. And before becoming angry on the other person, try to ascertain who did it. Before shouting at the other person, before yelling at them, what should you do? Verify. What happened? And if you know for sure, then take any steps for or against. And if you're not sure, then don't take any steps. Why? Because then you can harm the other person. Like for example, sometimes within children, you walk in and the children, they're having a fight. And you always think that it's your son who starts it. So you start yelling at him. And later on, when you finished yelling, then he looks at you and he says, I didn't do it. She started it. So what happens then? We commit injustice. as a result of our own ignorance. So, instead of being reactionary, instead of taking an immediate step, what should you do? Calm down, investigate, research, and then do something. We also learn from this ayah that the sign of a person being a Muslim is what? What? Salam. Liman alqa ilaykum as-salama. The one who is offering the salam to you. That's it. That's the only thing that is being mentioned over here. So if a person says salam, you should take them as they are. Similarly, if they say any other kalima that is a shi'ar of the Muslims, meaning that is a sign of being a Muslim, like for example, La ilaha illallah, or some other statement, then that shows that a person is a believer. Now if you know that a person is a non-Muslim and every time they see you, then they say Assalamu alaikum, that's understood. But let's say you're going somewhere and a person walks by you and they say salam, you shouldn't assume, oh, they're not a Muslim and they're just saying it like that. No. If they're saying salam, have a good opinion about the other person. Don't be so negative all the time. We also learn from this ayah about the prohibition of calling someone lasta mu'mina if he's saying that he is a believer. If someone is saying that he is a Muslim, who are you to say, lasta mu'mina? No, you're not a Muslim. Who are you to pass judgments on someone? Like for example, sometimes a person commits by mistake a sin, something very serious, and immediately what happens? There are fatwa of kufr against that person. That such and such is a kafir now. Who are you to say, lasta mu'minan, when he is saying that he is a Muslim? And from this we learn about the obligation of dealing with the people on their apparent, on their zahir. You are responsible for dealing with the person the way that he shows himself. Because in this dunya, what is in the heart cannot be known for sure by another person. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. And on the day of judgment, what's going to happen? وَحُصِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ يَوْمَ تُبْلَى السَّرَائِرِ. So whatever is in the heart is going to be displayed on the day of judgment. So in this dunya, you cannot know what is actually in the heart of the person. So what are we supposed to do? Deal with the other person according to his zahir, according to his apparent, how he shows himself. So for example, if you tell someone, pray salah. For example, you tell your child, your son, or your brother, or your sister, pray salah. And you come back after 5 minutes, and you ask them, have you prayed? And they say, yes, I have. Now you're like, no, you're lying. You didn't pray. Because I didn't see you praying. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Be judgmental? And say that, no, you haven't prayed. I know what's in your heart. I know what you actually did and what you actually didn't do. No. If a person says that he has prayed, then believe him. Trust him. Trust him. And it's possible that your child or your sibling, your brother or your sister, he prays very fast. It's possible. Sometimes children are very fast. They're very quick. So maybe you can advise them at that time that pray slowly next time. Don't pray so fast. But if you say that, no, you haven't prayed, what does it show? That you don't trust them. You don't trust them. And if they think that you don't trust them, if they know that you don't trust them, then they're never going to listen to you. Now the other is that you are watching them and you know that they didn't pray. Then you can talk to them nicely, but don't come down on them again. If you confront them and if you show to them that you don't trust them, then what's going to happen? They're going to become very defensive. They're going to become defensive. And if you say that, okay, I hope you did it, alhamdulillah, you prayed, or a statement like that, then eventually they're going to start feeling guilty in their hearts. You want their heart to be alive. You want that they themselves decide. They're not praying out of your fear, but they're praying out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you're saying that no, you didn't pray, then what are you creating in their hearts? Your fear, not the fear of Allah. So if you don't trust the other person on his zahid, then what's going to happen? The situation is not going to improve. Rather, it's going to deteriorate. We also learn from this ayah that the purpose of war is not to gain worldly benefits, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a lot of maghanim to give to the believers in dunya and the akhirah. That is not the objective of battle in our deen. We also learn from this ayah that whatever risk Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for a person, he will definitely get it. لَتَبْتَغُونَ عَرَضَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Then remember that فَعِنْدَ اللَّهِ مَغَانِمُ كَثِيرًا. Whatever is written for you, you will definitely get it. Why try to obtain it through haram? Why? If something is written for you, if something is in store for you, you will get it. Don't try to get it through incorrect ways. We also learn from this ayat that it is a huge favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon a slave that He gives him the tawfiq to accept Iman and to practice Iman. It's a favor of Allah. It's not your own achievement. So if you have been given this favor, don't become proud. And as a result of that, don't start looking down on other people. Rather, a person should be more grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Should be more careful. And we also learn from this ayah about the obligation of being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He is fully aware of every single action that we do. Because He is khabir. Whether that action is zahir or batin. It is apparent or hidden. Whether that action is of the heart or of the tongue or the limbs. Any kind of action that we perform, Allah is fully aware. So if He is fully aware, should we not be careful? Shouldn't we? So the judgments that we pass on other people, the assumptions that we have in our hearts, we should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to them.